welcome to my first workshop from beautiful Patonga Beach. For those of you who don't know Patonga, it's on the central coast of New South Wales, just an hour north of Sydney, and I live in this paradise, so very lucky. I get most of my inspiration from a little place called Dark Corner, which I've driven to, which is just around the corner from my home, and I'm lucky enough that I can come down here. There's not a soul. I can enjoy this beautiful spot with dogs and sit down here and relax. It's called on plein air. For those of you who don't know what on plein air is, it's where you can enjoy painting and drawing outside in the landscape, natural landscape. It's a challenge. You've got to go with the elements, but luckily we've got beautiful weather today. The challenge is the rain and the wind and everything else like that, but perfect today. So what we're going to do is welcome to Dark Corner, and usually there's got a beautiful creek running through here from the waterfall up the top, but because we've had no rain for a long time, we have actually no water, no reflections, so we're going to have to make them up. But we're going to just draw from the beautiful rocks and the lights and the darks and the shadows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all the techniques, just a little few tasters so that you can try them at home and play, and then the next time we'll just keep building on that. So this is really good for beginners who have never ever picked up a paintbrush or a charcoal or an ink, and then we're going to move on slowly as you progress. Now you can be as crazy as you like, you can be messy as you like, or you can be a little bit special and tight, but what we're going to do is we're going to be splashing it around today. So come on, come and join me, and we're going workshopping. I'm sure my back is fabulous. I've got my daughter on the video, so I'm sure if you hear her sigh and moan and groan, it's because Vanessa's annoying. So what we're going to do is I've got this little table set up with all the materials I mentioned to you, and I'm going to start off with ink because it is fabulous. So I'll just start off with ink because that's a little bit exciting first up. So what I've got here, a piece of paper, dirty little containers. I'm just going to pour some of this ink into the container with some water, and I'm going to just start off the very first lesson with a wash. And look, we've got hello and welcome written in a resist. Genius. So what we're going to be doing, isn't that gorgeous? Yay! That's called resist, and that's on with Pva Glue, and now I've got ink from one end of the place to the other, so that's okay. That's how we go. Look at that. All right. There is no rules. There are nothing's wrong. You cannot make a mistake with this mixed media. Now I'm going to put that there for the dogs to wreck. So what we're going to do is talk about the different ways and means of making your painting and drawing interesting. Now when I first started out, I couldn't draw, hadn't been picked up a brush, never knew what to do, and so to hide the fact I couldn't draw, I actually found out little tricks to hide the fact I couldn't draw that made my work look interesting. So one of the first things I'm going to do is, this is just crappy cartridge paper. We're going to do that crappy cartridge paper to start with because you can get that, as I said in my intro the other day, you can buy that Eckersley's, anyway, $2 shops are fine. They're not expensive, and you get 50 sheets. And they're really good for playing and tearing up later on. So what I'm going to do is the ink. we've got waterproof ink. The reason that waterproof ink is good is that once it's dry, you can wash over the top. I was actually using a non-waterproof ink. It was absolutely fabulous. It did all interesting things, but as I've seen over the time, it's actually faded and looks pretty bad, so I can't do that. So I've got the Atelier waterproof ink. I've also got Winsor & Newton, which I notice is very expensive, so I'm not going to use that much, but I thought if I'm desperate I'll use it. So I'll just pour it into a container. Now, when you use a brush, it's like guaranteed unhappiness, all right? So we're going to try not to use a brush. What we're going to use instead are sticks. So I'm surrounded by sticks. And there's different sticks that will give different effects. Some people have their favourite stick because it just twists at the right time and it's the right consistency. So any stick. When I used to do workshops, I used to have a list, and the people used to go into the art scene shop and say, oh, I need sticks. And they said, are you in Vanessa Ashcroft's workshop? Oh yes, well you get them from the garden. Okay, so the lovely thing about sticks is it's very hard to do a straight line, and that's the best thing, because a straight line is a boring line. All my students all know that I wank on about this all the time, but it's true. Straight line, unless it's perfectly straight, and an architect drawing is boring. So we're going to make it not boring. Now there's a lot of people during these workshops, there's a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me. I know it's hard to believe, but also people who can draw, people who can paint, people who do this beautifully and magnificently. I'm not saying that I know how to do everything fabulous. I just know what I know, and if you can have fun and get something out of it, that's a bonus. So with the stick, depending on the sort of stick, we're going to do some line. Now see, with this, if you just twist it as you go, right, and I'm going to be just doing some trees. Let's pretend I'm doing trees here. Now if I'd done a straight line, it's boring. I can do a little tap. Ah, beautiful. And see how you can't hold it straight? So you've got some really interesting lines. So if you're doing this live now, go to and you're out in the garden, hurry up and get some sticks, and just start putting the line down.
Do you know who's watching?
Yeah, is someone watching?
Yeah.
Oh.
Say hi to Pamela Honeyfield.
Oh, Pamela. I'm sure I can't teach Pamela anything, but that's very nice.
And Sylvie.
Oh, Sylvie. Oh, that's nice. Hi, Sylvie.
Jesse Hodgkinson.
Oh, good, Jess. Are you doing it with the Eliza? We did. Jessie's the reason why I'm doing this, because she lives in the Gambie, and we had some fun down on the riverbank of the Dewar River in Araluen, and this is where I came up with the idea. So I'm really pleased that she's joining us. So it's all your fault, Jess. So this is the side of the stick. Just doing a bit of dry. See how the stick dries out? And you're getting these nice effects. Jessie lives on the banks of a river, so I hope she's down by the river and the kids are behaving.
Oh, that looks more like a tree now.
Does it look a bit like a tree now? It does help if it's
upside down.
Yeah. Great works of art should actually work upside down and back to front. So it wasn't a great work of art yet, right? So that's just with a stick and some ink. Now what will happen is, as that dries, I can now come over with that with a wash. All right. Now different sticks give different effects. See, this one's really hard to hold. So, and I do like to give a little tap there. There we go. So what I'm going to do now, this is a trick that I learnt from fantastic artist, well, God, what's her name? Sophie Kate. Now, I went to her workshop, a magnificent artist. And I always wondered how she got her beautiful marks. And so thanks to her, I now know how she does her beautiful mark. We go to a tree. And I'm going to do this on a small scale because Sophie does it on huge canvases and things. But what I'm going to be doing also is, if this is fun, we'll put a big canvas out another day. So I'm just going to, how Sophie got her beautiful marks is she got the branches and she coated it with some, coated it with the ink, and then she just see, it's really hard to do leaves and everything when you're doing, you know, trying to do leaves, but when you do this, immediately you've got a really nice effect. Now you can't be precious with your hands and everything. If you're clean, you're not working hard enough. So that's some nice lines and some marks. And the whole idea with drawing and painting is to actually create a really nice mark. Depth, interest, have the people come up and say, I wonder how she did that, you know. So now I know, because now you know that's how Sophie Cape does it, but with the beautiful, with the branches and the sticks. Now as that dries, won't take long to dry, we can put a little wash over that. The other thing which, now the wash, got all this water because we've dried up, so I haven't dried up, the river's dried up, a little creek. So what I'm going to do is actually, these are really good if you can use this. This is from Balmain, the gallery down at Balmain. I spend my life in the sushi shop. I don't eat sushi, but I eat the yummy bits of other things. And they're containers. That means you can put your different inks and washes in here. So, this is on crappy cartridge paper, don't forget. So, crappy cartridge paper means that it won't take a lot of abuse, but you can still use this later on, and it's great for experimenting. So I've used these little containers here, and what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of ink in each one, and depending how much ink you put in is to how light and how much ink and how light and dark it is. The thing about ink that you always think you're a genius until you come back later and it dries quite lighter, so it's not as bad. So what I'm going to show you now is just some washes. So this has got a bit more ink in it than the others, I think, so it's quite dark. Okay, then this one doesn't have much ink at all. It's exactly the same.
It's darker.
Okay, is it? Okay, hang on, stuff something up. Okay, this is water. My favourite thing in the whole world is dirty water. Right, so we've got dirty water, nice and light. Okay,
That worked.
That worked. That's right. So that's just got ink in it, and that's a wash. So when people say, "Oh, it's just got a wash over it," that means a watery wash that you can have. It can be inks, it can be even acrylic paints. So that's nice. Now with the wash, the different colours, you'll notice when that dries, it's going to be really it's going to be flat. So that's why we've used other things to make it more interesting. So we're into inks. We're doing different drawing, different layering, and different mark making. Now when you get your really old candle, I'll try and get a clean part of it. And you get a clean bit, not with paint all over it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create more trees. And the good thing is I can't see what I'm doing, because when you can see what you're doing, what happens, you get a little bit precious and you think, oh God, what am I doing? Oh, that's a bit, nah. Look, that's paint off the candle. Ignore that. So what we're doing, we're drawing with
Say
the
hi to
candle.
Rhonda Campbell.
Hi Rhonda. Rhonda knows all about this too. Welcome Rhonda. Nice to see you.
And Ian Thomas.
Ian Thomas. God, kings and queens of mixed media. Okay, so I put the candles on, and because now what happens is with the resist, I've now got, this is for beginners guys, a lot of you guys know all about this. I'm resisting, the effect is resisting on the candle. So that's what a resist is. I'm going to spray a little bit there and just get rid of the darkness of it. There we are. Now the good thing is that with very little effort, we've got some interesting marks happening here. We've got the dark, the light, we've got the splash, we've got the tree, we've got and the white against it. So you can always put a colour underneath and put the candle on top to bring it back through. We'll wait for that to dry. And also, that's one of my favourite things, the spray. It has to be Ajax spray and white. Only kidding. So I'm just going to pour that off there. Now this is going to be a bit dry now. So what I can do is with my wash, my dirty water, just going to put in here. Now it's catching on the wet part, but see the dry part here? Maybe Vanessa should wait until it's a bit dry. I'm going to put that away. But see how this is dry, so it's staying there, and then the wet ink is actually catching on the water. Now, as I say, there is no such thing as a mistake. Anytime you do a mistake, you have to fix it. And when you fix it, it means you've got a lot more interest in things happening. There's nothing pisses me off more than when you've got all these artists who think that one little layer and it's finished. It has to have depth, interest, intrigue. How do they finish it? Really go into the painting so that when someone actually buys your painting and they're sitting there looking at it, they actually see more different things all the time. It's not just a one-dimensional flat image. Now, more stuff for the dogs to wreck, and I'll just get another piece of paper. So I'm just using the cartridge still. So far, instant happiness with our little, we'll just do a masterpiece here quickly. Oh, sorry, Jade's getting, see, this is all part of the art, Jade, it's all part of the art. Right, we'll do some sticks and inks. Stick and ink is really good. You can do it at home on the holidays. What happens, like if you're take on holidays and you want to do some drawing, you just take a little container of the ink, a little bottle of water, little pad of paper, and you just go anywhere and you just drawing with your stick and ink, and you can get really tiny, small, intricate details too of just where your environment and where you are without a lot of hassle. I hate pencils myself because I just think you're going to be unhappy.
Is it limited to landscape?
What's that?
Using these materials?
No, I mean if you're doing jugs and bottles and things like that, they look fantastic with, I would do that if I was in the studio. So what I would do is I'd have an image, I'd have paint bottles and cups and saucers, anything like that. It's all about creating darks and lights. I probably wouldn't put the tree branches in the middle of a bottle, but the stick and ink definitely, right? So we've got, I'm just going to create that, and then, well, that can, and then we've got that happening. Now, this is really good for people who, it's cold at night now, 6 o'clock, all the time, it's dark, miserable, you've got a long time before you go to bed, you're sitting up, nothing on commercial TV, only on Netflix or Stan, then you think, okay, well why don't I sit at the table and I don't have to make this massive mess like Vanessa, but I can play with stick and ink and washes without making too much drama. One of the layers that is good also is not the dirty paint like what I've got. A nice white. Again, you don't have to use expensive. This is Atelier Matisse titanium white. I go through gallons of this, but I usually use gesso. But at the moment I've shaded myself some of this. And what happens, I'm going to come back to this later, so I'm going to put it on now. The best thing about white is that you can paint with it and use it as another layer. It will form as a resist against the paper, and then you can draw into it as well. So I'm just going to put a smear on. Try not to get any of the other colours that are mixed in here. I'm going to put a smear on. See that? Can you get that, Jane? See how it's The dogs are making a mess.
Make it better.
It's called texture. See, now you can hear the sand now from the dogs. Can you tell them to rack off?
Bones,
There we are.
that's enough. Stop it.
Okay, so here, if I'm going to do this scene here behind me, how easy is it to create the sand and landscape just by using a spatula? It's like icing a cake, but you want it to look messy. And where the ink goes into these little holes, it creates a whole new other look compared to where it sits on the surface of the paint, and then it also goes into it reacts differently to the paper. Now again, this is cheap paper. You have a lot more happiness with really good paper, but we're talking to beginners, and we're talking to also people who may not want to splurge and practice on good paper. Okay, so now I've created that, and while it doesn't look much at the moment, we'll come back and wreck it. What you can do is draw a line into it too, and the line, it will go into the lines, and we'll do some charcoal with that too. Okay, so we've got the candle, the bushes, the stick and ink, and we've got some gesso or white titanium, and I'm going to put, I don't know where I'm going to put this, where I'm going to put it is on a rock, and hold it down so it can dry while we talk charcoal. You can't afford to be precious when you're painting, and one of the messiest ones is charcoal. So we're going to do charcoal now. You having fun, Jade?
Yep.
All right. I'll put the inks away. Charcoal is one of those yummy mediums. I'm not that good at it. I've got beautiful friends, Jana Hunt, who just does magnificent drawings. We've got Jocelyn here at Patonga, and she's a magnificent painter and drawer. So I don't even propose to guess that I'm very good at charcoal drawing. But what I do use the charcoal for is to resolve problems. If I've got a problem with a painting, I tend to put it up on the easel or up on the wall, and then I draw, get the image back, find it again. What am I trying to say? Draw the rocks, draw the trees. What am I trying to actually, the picture that I'm trying to get? Because a lot of the time I lose it all with mess, and so then you think, okay, step back, come back in and take a new look, and charcoal's away. Now, a lot of people, they don't have happiness with charcoal because they expect too much. It's like when you're doing pencil. It's very hard to do a beautiful pencil drawing unless you've been doing it for years and you're very adept at it. So okay, so what I'm going to do is just show you, like with the show you with the ink. Can you dogs go away? Bones
Come on.
is annoying Benji.
No, Benji's annoying.
He's hiding
Bones.
under there. Okay, so this is a willow charcoal. This is a willow. This is something else like out of the fire, which I don't know, I hate it. I've just put them there so Jade can zoom in on them. I've got some compressed charcoal. Compressed is deadly. When I say you can't make any mistakes, you can. The only thing you can make a mistake with is compressed. It gets so black and dense, you cannot paint over it, you cannot draw into it. It's basically stuffs your paint. So, and that's about it. Now, what I've got is, I've got this thing.
Go away.
And a rubber. Okay. So this, I've always wondered what this was. Everyone had one, and I'm thinking, I don't know what the hell it does. And now I've worked it out because I've actually kept playing. So as I said, I couldn't draw before, and so I made do with all the different techniques and things like that, experimenting in the studio, experimenting at home. This is before I started proper work practice. And then with charcoal, I thought, oh, this is so hard, you know, how do you do it? And drawing especially, you do need to be able to draw with charcoal, and that's why you can do some tips and things like that, but really it's a matter of practice. Now when people say I can't draw, you can draw, you just have to put the effort in to do it.
Okay, go. Everyone's watching you, but you can talk and do something at the same time.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the willow. This is the willow. A bit big. All right. I'm going to get rid of the compress because it's scary stuff. When you hold the willow, what am I going to draw? Okay, I'll turn around. Hang on. I'll draw that. I'll move my chair because it's taking away the ambience. Okay.
Why don't we draw the boat?
That boat is hard. We're not doing hard.
That boat's nice.
Yeah, I know, but boats are really, really hard. Anything that looks like something that's specific, you've got to get the dimensions right. Shoot, Benji, can you rack off? So, anything like a house, like I've got the lovely house over there. I can't do that really well and easily and quick. I can't do a boat really easily and quick. I can't do that easy. What I can do are the rocks. So you can turn around and show me the rocks. Show the rocks. Is anyone there still?
Yeah.
So, with the rocks, and that's why I like Dark Corner, they're fantastic in the fact that they've got lots of shape, different
Textures.
textures and edges, the trees coming up from them. And what happens with rocks, unless you've actually got something to draw, everyone draws, and I do the same. If I'm just thinking I'm too lazy, I haven't got a picture or whatever, I'm too lazy, I think, okay, I'll just draw rocks. And you say, all the same size, no interest. So that's why you need this. So I'm just going to draw these rocks now. Use the side of the charcoal rather than the point. If you're going to use the point, you're using, it's exactly the same as if you've got a pencil. And you're just looking at the different shapes. All about shape, all about form. And look, and with drawing, it's all about observation. So if you've got, it's like how many times I've said to people, oh, what about that line there? And look at that there, look at that shadow. And they say, oh, I didn't even notice that. And that is what makes the difference in a drawing. So you have to talk and draw at the same time. So by just using the side, pushing harder, breaking it, looking at all, it doesn't have to look identical to that rock. All I'm doing is getting the darks and the lights. And then up here, there's another rock. So using the side of the charcoal, all you do with on plein air, the best thing is you can see that whole vista there. I don't have to paint just what's in my photo. When you take a photo, you're stuck with that little bit there. Here, I can take that tree from over there, and that bit over there, and that branch, and that rock. And then it forms one landscape. So there's another rock here. This charcoal, should have got one bit thicker. Right, so it's just a matter of form. Then use your fingers, make it lighter. And then this little magic thing, which is apparently paper, rolled paper. And that gives the some really nice technique. So if I'm looking at that rock there, I notice that this, it's coming down, it's been cut away like that, and I give that form by this tool, whatever it is. I know Jana will know what it is.
Benji.
Stop it. Okay. So this rolled up piece of paper, type paper, no idea what it is, gives that really nice form here. And then your rubber, your school rubber, which I'll find a bit of clean stuff. Okay, and so what's happening is I'll just put some, if you look at the top of that rock, it's the dark with the algae or whatever it is on it. I'll come in here. And then you can put in the lights with the rubber. Now if you've got this has got a funny surface, this table, so it's picking up the surface. So to put the lights in, can you see that shape?
Yeah. Say hi to the people just arriving, maybe just a recap of what you're doing with the rocks and the...
Oh, okay. So I'm using charcoal. We've done some inks and washes. Now we're doing charcoal. So we're using willow charcoal, just a crappy piece of cartridge paper. I'm looking at the rocks at dark corner, and just by using the point of the charcoal for the line. And when you use the point of the charcoal, don't just hold it stiff with one, like a pencil. Twist it in your fingers. So when you twist it in your fingers, you've got a really interesting line. So if you come here, Jay, I'll show you the difference. So here's a straight line. How boring is that? Twist it, right? Immediately much more interesting. Okay, so with your point of the charcoal, you can get this line here like that, and draw hard and light. The side of the charcoal to get your form, your fingers to make it lighter and to move it around, and then your rubber to get in your lights. And it's all about layering to make it more interesting. How can I make a drawing interesting when it's just using charcoal? So this is the rubber and the lights and darks, and that's why when compressed charcoal, that's when you're talking, this is when people get excited, but they get excited, then it goes all black, they end up covered in black charcoal, and the painting's trash because it's just too dark and it's very hard to get the lights back in. And you can't save it with some gesso or anything like we can do. So I'm taking these, up there's the trees coming up, and that's with the compressed charcoal. And when I want really black, I'm using this. I always use the side of the charcoal, except when I'm actually putting drawing in. All right, so I'm putting in some darks. So that's the compressed charcoal, and I can come in again with some line to make it interesting. Okay, so that's just with charcoal, very easy, and it's good for playing. So if you've got children, you can go out in the garden, even go out into the fireplace and grab some charcoal, give them pieces of paper and play with the charcoal. If you're neat and tidy, you're obviously not working hard enough. Alright, so that's a matter of, again, on plein air, when we can see this, I might want to take that tree there and using the side of my charcoal, go up here. Can you believe this?
Bones, that's enough.
It's because we're playing with it. I'm putting this tree in here. And using the branches to come. Now the branches are really good. Again, twisting the charcoal all the time.
Say bye to Jessie. Bye, Jessie.
Bye, Jess. She had enough already.
No, the baby's awake.
Oh, right. I want to see her masterpieces when she's done. Okay, so you're playing with the charcoal, you're filthy dirty, baby's awake, you don't want it to wreck. So what do? You get out your Vital Net Salon hairspray.
Any hairspray?
Any hairspray. Mind you, because I'm now a professional artist, I use Fixity. And you spray it. I should spray the bloody dog. Spray it. And that means the charcoal won't move. It still does move a little bit, but it actually means that you can put a bit of painting on it or work with it and it won't make the paint muddy. All right, so there, does that look any good on the photo?
Looks a bit blue, but yeah.
A bit blue, oh, okay. So what we've got here, we can always put on what we might do is put some white gesso on here and let it. Bring this back. Bring this back. And what are we going to do about these dogs? I know we're talking about. I'm just going to put some white paint on this and wait for it to dry. Now when you're doing, see that there's a branch that's coming forward, and that's what you're looking for. I mean, unfortunately, because we don't have a nice creek, can't have reflection. But this branch coming in over the top, and a reason to have line. And the whole idea is to put the lines in and...
Benji, that is enough. Go away.
Stupid. Okay. So I'm just going to wait for that to dry. See how the charcoal still moves a bit? Oh, it might have been my messy brush. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we're actually trying to achieve. Here is some of my work from Dark Corner, and one of my main ones, which has been really interesting, is these two paintings here. Now I did them here. Wind's coming up now. See, that's where we have the challenge. This one here. This one I did sitting over here, and you may recognise the rocks, but this is all just in ink. Can you go away? Ink and dry brush, what we've done today. So, but that painting and this one, so you can recognise now the wash. I tipped the dirty water over it and got the dirty water on it to get the trees. There's a bit of gesso, there's dry brush, there's some charcoal. But these two paintings, I use these on the floor in my studio or up on my wall. And when I'm doing my landscapes, I get stuck on thinking, oh, I need a reason for line, dark, shapes and everything like that. And I use these in my paintings and drawings. And that's why I'm doing a lot of painting at the moment using collage, acrylics, oils, inks, everything. And these have been my basis. I could have sold this one 100 times, but it's actually, I couldn't have been doing my paintings without it. And that's another reason why we're here today, because I'll create some more work to get inspiration from. So with this one here, this is another one which I've just taken out of the frame because I think it needs a bit more work. But this one here, that's based on this Dark Corner as well. And see how it's, can you see it? Well,
Yeah.
simplified, but we're using charcoal, inks, washes. There's some collage here, which we're going to do another day. And really, it's basically just what we've done, except for a bit of collage and a bit of pale blue ink. A bit of red Conti. And just by using the lines and darks and lights here, I think it needs a bit more work. That's why I'm going to work on it. But this is what we've done today. All right? Now, if we want to talk paper, paper's quite crucial. I don't go for the really thick.
Sorry.
What?
No.
I don't go for the really thick paper. I go for the rough. I like it quite smooth, watercolour. And what happens, it uses that ends up as a layer. And the layer is the important part. First layer, second layer, inks, charcoals, inks, washes, gesso, all of that. And so the paper is quite crucial. So, what else are we going to do? When we talk resist, another form of resist is with PVA glue. Now PVA glue is what I did for the hello. It's now trashed because of the dogs. Great, they've stopped making a noise. And all I did with this was I just squeegeed out hello. But what we can do also, you can paint with the PVA. It dries clear, and we can put in some maybe not rocks, but we can put in definitely some trees. So try not to make it too thick. Okay, now because this is on yucky paper, this won't be able to stand up to much abuse, but it can be torn up later for collage and things like that. What we're going to do, what other forms of paper you can use, I use rice paper, brown paper, a roll of brown paper, and we can draw on that as well. That'll give you the same effect as what we've just been doing. That looked really extravagant and flamboyant.
No.
I want to be the Nigella Lawson of art.
Well, you don't have the boobs for it.
I can find the boobs, don't you worry. Now, we've talked resist with the candle, right? Another form of resist is oil pastel. The oil pastel, this is a big thick one, very expensive, but you can use the smaller, cheaper ones. The ones from the $2 shop are pretty crap, but you can play with those too. You can get a whole box for $8, all different colours. But the oil pastel gives a really nice, I haven't done this really on this before. Would help if I actually knew what I was going to drawing. But this is just an example. Would help if it was a clean one as well. And that's about it. So what I'm going to do is get my dirty brush. Now, isn't that fabulous? Doing some trees, some splashes. No one's going to buy my paintings anymore. They'll say it's too easy. Vanessa just makes, she just, look at that. It's like magic drawing, you know those books in the olden days, Jade, you wouldn't know anything about that, where you put water on and the picture came out. And then just buy maybe some leftover white paint, drawing. And then with my dirty paint, we can just see what happens. So with this sort of thing, this is really, you can't really frame something like this. I know it's hard to believe, you can't. But because it's so thin, but it does really work well as a collage piece. And it's good to practice all the different materials. See how the white's going with the black ink. That's what it's all about. It's all about experimenting, trying new things. Having art in your life will change your life. You will see things differently. You will notice different things. Your life will become a lot more full. Now, I don't want you to go and go to competition and bloody beat me at every sales and things. But what it is I do believe that without art, my life would certainly be very boring. It fills my life. And it can be as interesting as you want. You can go to art galleries and art openings where there's free booze. You can become involved in the art scene and join groups in art centres. Now this is the full, see how yummy that's looking now. Art centres like Ku-ring-gai Art Centre and Willoughby Workshop, that's in Sydney. But there's hundreds everywhere. The council own them and run them, and you can become part, change your life. And the good thing about art per se, it's a huge spectrum of different things. It's not just drawing and painting. It's sculpture, it's art appreciation, it's basket weaving and beautiful baskets, and it's so much more involved. There's printmaking, ceramics. So again, we're just using the charcoal. Does this look really effective, Jane?
Yeah, it's good.
Good. And we can move that around. Now because that's just brown paper from the $2 shop, that won't be able to put up with much abuse. So that's about it, really. It's all about the dry brush washing. So let's just go over it again quickly before we can't do much with this now. Stuffed it up. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll put this here, tip that there. Oh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That's the solid black ink on its own. And that's resisting nicely with, here we are, nice tree. Okay. Can you bash the dog up? Alright. Benji's not coming again.
Oh, Benji's naughty.
Now, the sand's going everywhere, but that's texture. And that's why I say there's nothing...
Benji, that's enough. Come here. Oi, Benji.
Stop it. Oh, mental dog. Okay.
Do you know how many people are watching?
How many? 3.
112.
Get out of town.
No.
What? 12.
12.
That's okay. That's good.
That was good.
That's good. Okay, because then if I stuff up...
Barry Cranston has just joined us. Say hello to Barry.
Hi, Barry. So we're just doing the mixed media, and how long have we been going, Jade? Is everyone bored?
Like nearly an hour.
Get out of town. You said an hour would be boring. It would be too long.
Yeah, no, we're going for 50 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so basically that's it. I've got all these pieces of paper, and if everyone's interested and I'll do it again, we'll come back either to dark corner depending on the weather, or we will come from my studio and we'll work out what to do with these pieces that we've created, tear them up, add them to paintings, use PVA, all that sort of stuff. And will you not walk all over my paintings and go to the next level? So if you guys, 3 of you who are probably doing this, could actually...
11
people doing it, playing with the paints, see what you've got, let me know what you've done, and then we'll do some more for next time. And if everyone's interested, we can just keep going crazy with mixed media. Is that it?
Maybe just say if you've got any questions, comment below.
Got any questions? Comment below, as what Jade said. And if you can get outside and do it and find a park or somewhere like that, find rocks. For happiness, find rocks and trees. Don't find houses and boats and things like that. It's still too hard. All right? And look for the reflections. All about the reflections, the lights, the darks, the reason to put a mark on the paper. All right? Thanks very much, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.